Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and today marks the launch of Pioneer Masters on Arena. If you've never heard of the set before, it is a Masters set, which means it's a reprints only set, and this one is focused on getting the Pioneer format onto Arena. So this is a digital only set, but it is featuring all reprints of cards that do exist in Paper Magic. They're all cards from the 2012 to 2016 era, just filling in that gap before Magic Arena launched, but cards that are still legal in the Pioneer constructed format. So if you're interested in the original Theros block, the original Return to Ravnica block, Battle for Zendikar, Oath of the Gatewatch, Magic Origins, Fate Reforged, Dragons of Tarkir, and a bunch of core sets, that is what has been shoved into the Pioneer Masters format. So a lot of really cool sets, a lot of classic sets. If you've been playing for a while, this is your opportunity to get some of those cards that you want in a draft environment or just busting these packs open from the store. One thing to mention that is very important to mention is that this set has bonus sheets again. So every 2 weeks, they're going to swap out the bonus sheet that shows up in draft booster packs, which is going to be one card out of every booster pack is going to have something to do with Planeswalkers on the current bonus sheet. So for the first couple weeks of the draft environment, if you really want to have a higher chance of opening Planeswalkers for your collection or opening Planeswalkers to draft and play with during the draft, then this is the first couple weeks that you should be playing the format. If you care about the Theros gods, and you want to try to get them in draft, then you should wait a few weeks until the current bonus sheet is the Devotion bonus sheet, as that is when those will show up in draft packs. Currently, you cannot open any of the Theros gods, so that's probably the most important thing to note about the bonus sheets, outside of the fact that, of course, that means the draft environment will change a little bit every couple weeks. But for me personally, I think some of the coolest cards to collect out of this set are those Theros gods. They're so iconic, they're so classic to me. They're great for Brawl on Arena, but they're not available in these current draft boosters. Now, if you're just opening up these booster packs, like the 3 that you got for free for logging in, or any that you buy in the store, you can open any card in the set. The bonus sheets don't matter. They're irrelevant towards just busting open packs. They only affect the draft format. So just one thing to note, if you're looking for a specific card out of the set and you're trying to collect it during draft, probably go ahead and look up the bonus sheets. It does say on Wizards' official website what cards are on each bonus sheet. So obviously the Planeswalkers, if you're looking for a lot of Planeswalkers, now's the time to play. If you're looking for Theros gods, wait till that swaps over to Devotion a few weeks from now. The middle bonus sheet is spells, which is just a bunch of instants and sorceries. It has like Enter the Multiverse and stuff like that. I don't really think anybody's that looking forward to the spells bonus sheet. It's really just, do you like Planeswalkers or do you like Theros gods? That is the time to play the draft format. So that is the whole spiel about pretty much everything you need to know about Pioneer Masters. With that whole very long spiel out of the way, let's just go ahead and hop into the format and see what we get to play with today. One last thing to mention during that spiel, this is a Pioneer set. That is a non-rotating format similar to Eternal, Modern, anything like that, which means there's a bunch of older cards. These are not going to be standard legal. So just one little thing to add to the disclaimers. All right, and here we are for our pack one, pick one. Really sweet pack as always in these master sets. I like the Celestial Archon a lot, just a huge finisher, 5 mana, 4/4, flying and first strike. It's going to win combat very easily pretty much all the time, and it's got flexibility. If you draw it when you have a ton of mana, you can bestow this onto another one of your creatures. Very cool mechanic from the original Theros block, where you are bestowing that creature with all of this one's extra stats. So this is a 4/4 flying first strike, so the creature you're bestowing gets +4/+4 flying and first strike, and when your opponent kills that creature that this is enchanted to, the Celestial Archon will remain on the board. It'll just fall off that creature and become its own enchantment creature, the 4/4 flyer there. So really, really nice card. Love the bestow ability, and this is a huge finisher. So we're going to lead with our Celestial Archon here. Pick two, several really great ways to go here. We've got the Exquisite Firecraft. This is a great removal spell, 3 mana for 4 damage to any target. It's a little color restrictive. You do need double red for it. But outside of that, pretty great. There's also Glade Cover Scout, and I do think that the Boggles deck is going to be pretty good. Boggles is an archetype in Modern that's focused around getting little hexproofing creatures called Slippery Boggles, and then putting a bunch of auras onto them to make them really big, and because they have hexproof, your opponent can't really target them with any removal spells. So this is a format, because it has a bunch of Theros cards, that is loaded with strong enchantments like Celestial Archon, so plenty of strong auras to put onto cards like Glade Cover Scout. So that's a little interesting to me, although I think if we took a green card, we're probably still supposed to take the removal, like the Clear Shot first. And then outside of those three cards we just talked about, there's also like Hero of Iroas, which could keep us on white, and it plays very well with Archon with these big bestow cards. But I think I'm just going to take the Clear Shot here. Really like the idea of potentially pushing to green as a secondary color, so that if we can get some of those hexproof creatures to come around a little later, then we can be bestowing onto hexproofing cards. So pick three. Now we've got another Hero of Iroas. Again, plays really well with bestow cards because they're auras with egregiously high mana costs. So reducing the cost is good, plus getting a counter when you cast them on him is good too. However, there's also excellent removal with Obnixilus's Cruelty. It's got to be a pretty big pickup. There's also a really nice blue-white card if we wanted to go to blue-white flyers. It's a huge tempo play, basically stunning one of your opponent's creatures for a turn with the Detain ability. Dragon Style Twins is quite the finisher, so that's certainly another option. But I'm just going to go for the really efficient, also pretty splashable removal. There are guild gates in most packs in the format. It's not guaranteed. They are just at the common rarity. They're not taking up the land slot, so you're not always getting a guild gate, but more often than not, there's a guild gate in the pack, so there is quite a bit of fixing in the set too, towards maybe splashing in a third color. Pick four. Speaking of guild gates, I do really like Gatebreaker Ram. This is one of the strongest reasons to actually just start drafting guild gates really highly. This can easily be like a 3-mana 4/4 Vigilance Trample, and I've oftentimes had it be even bigger. Card is wild in the like 5-color kind of gates deck. Alternatively, just staying pretty standard, staying pretty safe. The Dreadhound is a good finisher for any black deck, and we have one great card towards black already with Obnixilus's Cruelty. I think I'm taking Gatebreaker Ram, though. I really do think that that is an incredibly strong reason to draft a bunch of gates and be in that strategy. That said, I don't know if I'm going to draft any off-color gates this early. If there was some kind of green guild gate to go with the Gatebreaker, probably take it here, but really not so sure about Boros. The pack's pretty weak in general, but we now have Clear Shot and Gatebreaker Ram towards green, so we do have that Colney Ambush, which is a pretty mediocre kind of fight removal spell, but it gives you a lot of flexibility being able to run this over land, get flooded less often, thanks to the Colney territory on the back, so I don't mind that. Gearcrafter's fine, Treasure Cruise is fine, Scytheclaw Raptor's fine, but no really like big reason to push anywhere else. Pick 6, again, non-green guild gates, not that interesting. That said, there's again not too much outside of the guild gate. I do think Audacity could be pretty strong though, especially if we do go green-white in particular and we try to take a bunch of those hexproof creatures. It's a pretty good cheap aura. Pick 7, there's Selesnya Guildgate. That is a pretty perfect guildgate for the colors we're going for. One of the coolest things to note about Ardenvale Tactician that you should keep in mind in this format is that the heroic mechanic is a big thing because of all the Theros cards, and heroic means whenever you target that creature with a spell, you'll give it some kind of buff, and that will count if you use Dizzying Swoop on your own creatures after you declare an attack. So that is a pretty consistent play pattern I've seen with this card, where you attack with 2 heroic creatures, and then now that they're already declared as attackers, you have the Dizzying Swoop as a combat trick. When your opponent blocks, you just get to trigger both of your creatures heroic. So that's actually pretty nice in the heroic aggro decks, the Ardenvale Tactician. Plus, of course, like always, you can just tap your opponent's blockers if you just need to get damage in. Keening Apparition's probably fine with all the Theros cards. Nothing else really exciting. Could take the Guild Gate, go with our Gatebreaker Ram if we want to really push after that, but with just the one Gatebreaker Ram, again, I'm just going to take the kind of green Guild Gates mostly for now. Unless I get like a second Gates payoff, then I'll be really interested in just scooping them all up. Pick 9. Shamanic Revelation, if things are already going decent for you, they'll now start going very well with that amount of card draw, but it is a bit narrow. You can always draw that when you're on the defensive and you only have like one creature on board and then you're really, really unhappy. Lotus Eye Mystics feels kind of consistent for green-white. There's enchantment creatures and auras and stuff you could have. Audacity's a really good one with this card. Since it's only one mana to play and it draws you a card when it dies, this is a card you can just throw onto the board super, super early, willy-nilly, and easily have that engraved by turn 4. And there we go. Just as I foresaw it, we have wheeled the Gladecover Scout, taking the clear shot, and now we have a clear path towards Boggles. Ooh, yeah, pick 11 Hero of Iroas as well. It's going to be a great green-white auras deck. And it'll have a solid matchup in the mirror, because I can blow up enchantments with my 2-mana tutus. Probably won't be playing the Knightly Valor, but there is a chance. It is an aura. Hold down my alt key. Oh, this is the first time I've drafted the set on my personal account. I don't know why I was trying to look at how many I owned of everything. Obviously, it's 0. Okay, I'm not going to main deck Unravel the Aether. Okay, Hornet Nest is super, super annoying. Against the right deck, this card is like almost unbeatable. If your opponent's on like green-red, they're going to have a really bad time because all the removal in green and red is damage-based. So no matter what, they're going to have to pop the Hornet's Nest and give you the Death Touchers, even if they shoot it with a removal spell. And in the wrong matchups, if you are against black or white and they can destroy this or exile it, they're still going to have to spend removal on this, unless they're like exclusively on flyers. One of the best ways you can make this more consistent is to have some fight spells in your deck, like Call in the Ambush. That way, even if your opponent doesn't have to pop it and give you all the Hornets, you can do it yourself if you need to. So I like the Hornet Nest here. We've got one fight spell already, and it is pretty ridiculous in the right matchup. Just a complete wall. Pick 2, I like the Compulsory Rest here as a removal spell that is also an aura for good synergies. There's a common in the format called Heliod's Pilgrim that enters the battlefield and lets you search for any aura out of your deck. Being able to have that card be more flexible where we can grab removal when we need it, or we can grab like an Audacity when we do want an actual aura for buffing our board is quite nice. So I like taking Compulsory Rest pretty highly for that. Now, Sage's Reverie, in theory, I think is decent in this deck. That said, I played it during the early access event, and I feel like it was bugged or I misread it or something, where it says enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each aura you control that's attached to a creature. But when I enchanted this on one of my creatures, it didn't get any buffs. It was just still a 2/2, like a 2/2, and then I put Reverie on it, and it was still a 2/2, and I was like, okay, I currently control one aura that's enchanted to a creature. This should be a 3/3. And I had another game where I had like 3 auras on board or something, and it didn't give any buffs either. So I don't know what's going on with the card, but I'm gonna just ignore it for a little bit. So that is something to note. Because even if it did work right, I think it would just be okay. It wouldn't be like a super high pickup anyway. And pretty narrow, so it's probably best to just avoid it if it is a little buggy right now. We've got Savage Punch for another fight spell to go with our Hornet Nest, which looks fine. It's also just greens removal in general. I don't think I'm super massively high on another Mystics or Messenger here. Definitely not War Oracle. I mean, Lifelink's nice, but 4 mana, 4/4 at best. It's not crazy. I'll take the punch. Well, we might not have room for the punch because there's another clear shot too. That said, another compulsory rest could also be great in this deck. We can even cast it for 1 mana if we have a hero on board, which is pretty cute. Yeah, compulsory is probably good enough in this color pair to take over a clear shot. Clear shot has some potential blowout plays where your opponent tacks into your 2/2 with their 2/2, and then you go like block, make my 2/2 a 3/3, shoot your other thing. Or even better, if you can use this on attacks, that's a lot safer because then your opponent's probably tapped out, and then they block your 2/2 with theirs, and then you can make yours a 3/3 and shoot their other 2/2. Stuff like that can be pretty good with it, but again, the compulsory rest just stops anything from attacking or blocking, no matter how big it is, and um, it is an aura, so if we get any Heliod's Pilgrim, we can tutor for it. And because it has a built-in ability to where your opponent might sack their creature to gain some life, it can combo with these Lotus Eye Mystics as well, where we can pick it up from our graveyard, play it again. Again, sorry, Sage's Reverie, but you were not working right in the early access event. I like this pick 6 a lot. I like it so much, in fact, that I'm sad we can only take one of these cards. We currently only have an Audacity, a Knightly Valor, and an Archon for buffing our stuff, so our buff kind of auras aren't that strong that I think we need the Glade Cover Scout that highly. So I'm probably just going to take Selesnya Charm. I think the flexibility on this card looks incredible. 2 mana instant speed, 2/2 vigilance, or you exile your opponent's giant threat, or win a fight with a combat trick. Flexibility is pretty huge on the card. But Heliod's Pilgrim is also pretty huge. We have double compulsory and an Audacity for it, so we have good cards to pick up. But I think Selesnya Charm looks great. Pick 7, Steward of Solidarity is fine. 2 mana, 2/2. It can sit there making some 1/1s throughout the game if you don't have anything else to do with it. Okay, pick 8, Voyaging Satyr to ramp up is certainly solid, but so is Phalanx Leader. If we put an Audacity on this bad boy, then we have now buffed our entire board. Yeah, I like the Phalanx Leader. Now a Ghostblade Eidolon is flexible. We can drop this as our 3-drop and then enchant it with an Audacity or something else and have a really terrifying threat. Or if we get to our 5 or 6 mana, 5 if we have Hero on board, we can make one of our other cards a giant double striking threat. So it looks pretty great. This pack is not. We wield all of the white cards, so we are in the right colors. I've already got double Mystics. I guess we can try out the War Oracle, and maybe I've just been undervaluing that card a lot. But maybe Flyers are valuable here as well, where the Syndicate Messenger could be the pick, but I don't know. I have not played with or against the War Oracle a single time, so maybe we'll try it out. Maybe Lifelink is just that good that this is actually decent, but I feel like it's really just not the greatest for that mana value, but let's actually find out, shall we? Another Glade Cover Scout over a second Knightly Valor. And I guess that would be the biggest argument for not having taken the Selesnya Charm out of that pack. Because that was the same pack that had Selesnya Charm in it. It doesn't seem like anybody else is in green-white, so we could almost definitely wield a Selesnya Charm. So, I think we would have rather had Selesnya Charm and something else other than Glade Cover, but I don't remember what else was in that pack. But it's just funny that we're like the green-white auras deck, but we're just not like, we don't have any great auras to put on Glade Cover yet anyway. Okay, Leaf Crown Dryad is really flexible for this deck. I like that a lot. Hero is good, but Leaf Crown, just 2 mana 2/2, trade it off and then pick it up with Lotus Eye Mystics is already good. But like throwing it on a Glade Cover Scout's obviously pretty insane. I think Leaf Crown Dryad is just huge for this archetype, so I'm going to take that over Hero. Also, white seems a little more open than green in this draft pod. Not that it's open enough to wheel a Hero, but it might be. There's a chance. Okay, pack 3, pick 2. There is another Hero here. We can take that. There's that Gates Ablaze, a little too late to go for the full-on Gates deck alongside our Gatebreaker Ram. I mean, I might have had blinders on now that I'm looking at this green-white auras deck, in which case there might have been a Gates Ablaze earlier and I just didn't even see it. I do like Goreclaw. We don't have a lot of power 4 greater creatures. This is mainly just getting a big trample attack when it swings. Yeah, it's mainly just like a 5/4 trample. There's not too many other creatures that are going to get that buff from it. I guess once we have auras on board, it could be. It just feels less consistent than just a hero in this deck. Okay. Well, right after I said that, here's another 3 mana 4/4, which is definitely a card that would work with the Goreclaw. I could take a Guildgate over that. If it weren't for Gatebreaker Ram, I don't think I would really care that much. Our mana costs aren't that difficult to need another duel. But we can always just cut the Gatebreaker. Yeah, let's just play the Smiter. It's performing a very similar role to the Gatebreaker Ram. It's just very large for its mana cost. Okay, I like the Ghostblade Eidolon for the synergy in this deck. Crawl Harpooner is very solid for its mana cost, but it doesn't hit like any synergies for us that we really care about. So I feel like Eidolon's probably stronger for us. Okay, I've got one land in here. So this is 25 non-land cards, although I have 2 lands if you count the Colony Ambush. There's a Heliod's Pilgrim. We did get one for the deck, which is definitely good. We can pick, again, a buff or a removal. So let's grab the Heliod's Pilgrim, and now I can cut the Knightly Valor, probably. Creature count's at 18. That is a little bit high. Like 14 to 17, or not 14, like 15 to 17, 15 to 18 maybe, is the average creature count for most limited decks. Okay, we've got a lot of creatures in here that can draw a card off Mentor the Meek. Yeah, most of our creatures are power true less, so I'm going to take Mentor, and we'll start cutting a creature every time I take something. Mentor Steward of Solidarity can be hilarious. All right, these are probably just like 2-mana 2/2s, no other text most of the time, so let's grab a Mentor and cut an Apparition. Grab a Compulsory Rest. Probably cut a Savage Punch, honestly, because then I'm on triple Compulsory Selesnya Charm Clear Shot. The only thing the Savage Punch is really in here for is the Hornet Nest. And it's still going to be a good card even if we don't have the fight spells for it, I think. And without auras on our creatures, they're actually pretty small when it comes to fighting. It's a lot of like 2/2s in this deck. Play this over a Glade cover or play this over like an Apparition? Let's play this over a Glade cover, I think. Pick 9, another hero. I play that over a Glade cover as well. I have like 1 Leaf Crown Dryad, 1 Audacity, 1 Archon, 2 Eidolons, but those are so late game that it doesn't really matter. You've got the Hexproofer. Yeah, I think I play a hero over a Glade cover Scout. Again, we are green-white, but we didn't open the like +2/+2 trample lifelink. Yeah, maybe the Boggles deck is actually pretty balanced in this format, because maybe they just made all the auras just really expensive. It does feel that way. A lot of them are bestow cards, which are naturally going to be quite expensive. Okay. I think we just call it a deck here, right? We are perfectly happy to play a 16.5 land deck. Oh no, my math was wrong. I do still have to cut a card. Because if I cut a land here, I have 17 lands if you count Colony Ambush, which we're going to play half the time as land, half as the spells. It's like 16.5 lands. I think the curve is easy enough, even if we do play this at 7 sometimes, to go 16.5. But I still need to cut one more card. So I guess we do end up cutting the Keening Apparition. So I've still got 6 other 2-drops. Feels decent. I guess Eidolon can also be used at 6 or 7 mana. Or 5 or 6 mana, more like. But we can play it at 3 as well. Yeah, we might even be fine to go for a full 17 and an ambush with these expensive bestow abilities, but I think I'm just going to go for the 16.5 here. And for our mana base, we have 19 white cards and 7 green. Currently at an equal number of green and white sources if you count the Colony Ambush. None of our green cards require double green, so let's cut another green source for another white. Go on a 9-7 split there, which thanks to the Guildgate is a 10-8 split. So those are really good counts on our 2 colors. Yeah, looks pretty good. Looks like a pretty decent way to start off the format. Fingers crossed here, because I did burn through all of my Magic Arena monies during the Arena Open attempts this time around. So we do need to get a decent record here to not have to buy some gems to make another video for you all tomorrow. So Fingers crossed. But we'll call it a deck here, hop into the gameplay, and see how it does. Here we are for game one. This is sadly going to be a forced mulligan here with 3 green spells in the opener and no forests. Okay, reasonable mana. Going to be down a card here, but that is just the case when you got a mulligan. We'll go for this. Nothing to heroic onto the Phalanx Leader. That is slightly sad. But hey, Hornet Nest against a red deck. It's already a decent start. Now the compulsory rest to go with our Lotus Eye Mystics if they sack whatever we put this on. Blue-red's a decent color pair for Hornet Nest. The only way they should be able to deal with it is countering it. Otherwise, it is just going to stop them in their tracks. They can, like, bounce it back to my hand, bounce it to the top of my deck, depending on their spells. But none of that is going to get it permanently dealt with without giving me Hornets. They'll have to, like, bounce it and then counter it after they bounce it. Cool. Ooh. Wish I hit that a second earlier, now that I've already played all my power 2 or less creatures, but I think we still run it out here. They could have a counterspell, but, I mean, the Lotus Eye Mystics do straight up nothing right now. I mean, they are still a 3-2. They're a threat. Not big enough to get through Cyclops anyway, though. Yeah, just drop the Mentor, see if they have the counter. They do not. They have the Steam Augury draw spell. Oof. Wow, that's a really good hit. They have 2 different just armies in a can here. The Rabble Master making a Goblin every turn, the Murmuring Mystic making 1/1 flyers every time they cast a spell. So that is quite sketchy. If they split those into 2 different piles, they are guaranteed to be able to spit out a lot of tokens here. Although, the Rabble Master, if they don't kill the Hornet Nest, is actually pretty good for me. And I can always just block the 1/1 goblins with a 2/2. So I think Murmuring Mystic is a lot worse for me than Goblin Rabble Master is. Yeah, you can have the Rabble Master and the Cutthroat. That is all good. Those are the pretty correct piles for our opponent, because Murmuring Mystic's by far the scariest card they showed us. So by splitting the least scary cards into the 3 stack, they get to be up in card advantage this way. Draw 3 instead of draw 2. They're just slightly weaker cards. Very nice Steam Augury for our opponent. I think that card's just a really nice card draw in general. Played it in our 5-color Gates deck during the early access, and it was really consistently good. Oof, there's a flyer anyway, thanks to the Cloudfin Raptor. Certainly want to just compulsory rest that, I think. So that does not look scary as a 0/1 flyer, but the Simic mechanic from Gate Crash in the Return to Ravnica block is this evolve mechanic, so like it's going to be a 2-power flyer minimum because we know they have 2 2-power creatures to play. They play one, it becomes a 1/2, they play the other, it becomes a 2/3. So it's already pretty big. Oof, Chasm Skulker is a massive issue as well. That said, I don't feel bad about pacifying the Cloudfin Raptor, because even if I pacify the Chasm Skulker, it's still going to sit there getting the counters, and then Compulsory Rest is just going to let them sacrifice this, and when they sack it, they get a bunch of squids anyway. So that card would be a nightmare for us, even if we did put the Compulsory on it, and I think it's actually just better for us if it does attack into a Hornet Nest. Because then we don't kill it, but we do get a bunch of Hornets. Which lets us draw a bunch of Mentor cards if I have enough mana, but that'll be unlikely. Okay, we got a Reach creature now if they play another flyer. If they attack with Chasm Skulker, I'm quite confident we're supposed to block here. Make 5 Death Touchers, draw 1 card. Quicken is very cute. Just 1 mana instant, draw a card. But if you have a sorcery, you can get very cheeky with it. There's Selesnya Charm, so we can actually exile the Chasm Skulker whenever it becomes too much of a problem. So that is really nice. This might be greedy, but I'm just going to draw the card off of the Leaf Crown Dryad rather than bestowing it. We're kind of just chilling. Just hanging out as long as we've got the Hornet Nest. They will likely draw into a burn spell at some point, and because they have like a 6/6 set minimum on their board, if they draw a burn spell, they will probably just cash it in on the Hornet Nest. Although again, when they do, I get to draw 2 cards because I've got 2 Mentor the Meek Mana up. Again, cannot overstate how great this Selesnya Charm is as a draw here. So we have a way to deal with Chasm Skulker without even giving them the insects. Don't feel the need to cash it in immediately, though. 6 mana to throw a Celestial Archon onto one of my creatures. I tap out if I do that. Just a tiny bit sketchy. It's probably worth it, though. Especially if we just target Phalanx Leader here. Because then even if they counter this Archon, we get a counter on the whole board. And then we can just Lotus Eye Mystics the Archon back to our hand, and we've got a really good play for all of our mana next turn. Lotus Eye Mystics to pick up the Archon and still have the 2 mana up for Selesnya Charm. Yeah. That is not terrible for me, but it's also not terrible for my opponent, because they do get the 3/3 out of that as well. Very nice counterspell, the Awaken counterspell. I really like this Awaken counterspell, and there's an Awaken removal spell as well. It's 2 black and 1, destroy a creature, or 6 mana, do the same thing, and make a 3/3 land. I think both of these cards are really, really nice, because they're fine rates early in the game, but if you can cast them later in the game like our opponent did here, they're pretty good 2-for-1s. Ooh, Flying Chasm Skulker, you say? Well, that is a problem. Oh. Feels bold to take this, but I'm going to take this and then just Selesnya Charm. Keep my board as wide as possible for more Phalanx Leader shenanigans. Okay, they've got 1 and a blue. I don't think there's a counterspell they could do for that much mana on Selesnya Charm here. But I guess we'll find out. That was kind of the bait, although I doubt they would counter that. It gives them the opportunity. Okay, Quicken. One mana up now. Okay, they did not draw on anything that matters. And since we did not chump with our Leaf Crown Dryad, we now have a gigantic reach blocker for their Nimbus Naiad. So we don't have to worry about that. I think Phalanx Leader's ability is strong enough to not trade off here on attacks. Solid value to do so. Like, we're going to kill one of their creatures and draw a card if I do that, but this ability is just quite nice. Archaeologists for more Quickens. They might just mill themselves here. They've got 9 cards left, unless they have like a really good card they're digging for. They've milled their Master of Waves and their Stormtide Leviathan, because the mills only pick up non-creature spells. Wow, Stormtide Leviathan would be gross. I am glad they milled that. This Hornet Nest has prevented so much damage as well. Like, it doesn't look like it's done much because we haven't popped out any Hornets at any point, but it has just stopped any attacks on the ground ever. Like, they've literally just not played the Rebel Master at all because we have this Hornet Nest. And now, even if they have a burn spell to kill it, they have to give us 4 Hornets. Another Cyclops. Buff the whole board again. And gigantic trampling flying threat. Trample flying first strike. They quicken again, trying to draw an out here. 6 cards left in their deck. I do not believe Laboratory Maniac or Thassa's Oracle got reprinted here. I actually don't think Laboratory Maniac is in Pioneer. But Thassa's Oracle is. Unless it's banned. I doubt it's banned. Alright, have their life total. They are at 10 now. Let's go. We got them to crack the Cloudfin Raptor. Now this Mystics draws us a removal spell if we need it. I'm drinking too much water. Anchor to the Aether the Hornet Nest, so they can attack now, but I've got 5/5s against their 4/4s. I am down to 11 thanks to their massive Chasm Skulker swing. Alright, they're going to need some kind of trick here. I guess any other instant or sorcery will result in trades here. I would love to draw a card when I play this Hornet Nest. But an 11 here? The only way to not lose Mentor is to go to 5 or to lose my Reach blocker. And losing my only Reach blocker feels like one of the most sketchy ways to play this. Because they, again, have that potential of, like, Nimbus Naiading up another, like, Cyclops or something. Maybe getting a little few spells in a row, kind of. Cyclops kill. Slash my face, sure. Well, yeah, I guess there's nothing on board they can slash to change anything. And then play the Rabble Master. Ooh, Hornet Nest appreciates that. Okay, so I can Mystics and Hornet Nest here. We definitely attack. We're going to have 3 blockers up, and they're on top decks. Put them to 2. They are dead next turn. As long as we don't die, they're dead next turn. So they have 1 turn to kill us. I hope there is not an active treason effect in this format that lets you steal an opposing creature for a turn, because that would be real bad for us. We would probably still win. Okay, Treasure Cruise, they're going deep. 1 card left in their deck now. Swift Spear. Rabble Master makes a Goblin. Send in the whole board, sure. Is the max damage I can stop? No, it's safer to do it this way, I think. And the GG from opponent. We start things off 1-0 in this draft as we head into game number 2. Here we are for game 2. No double white for Phalanx Leader's a little rough, but we do have 3 lands towards the Mystics. Nothing to pick up for them, but we've got a 2-drop, both colors. It's obviously not perfect for all those reasons I mentioned, but I think it's fine enough to keep. I think I'm going to hold on to Ambush for now. I don't think it's that important to plop down a Mystic's turn 4 if it's not going to pick up an enchantment anyway. We are playing against another red deck. Hornet Queen could be legit again. Somewhere in here. Or not Hornet Queen, the Hornet's Nest. Hornet Queen's a completely different card. Ooh, Heliod's Pilgrim. Yeah, have to play to turn late here, get punished for not playing the ambush if I don't hit the land next turn. Crowan Crusader. Pass turn. We did hit the land. Never punished. Okay, we're playing against a red deck with multiple really cheap creatures already. This feels like a matchup for Compulsory Rest over Audacity. Also feels like a really good matchup for Steward of Solidarity, giving us these warrior tokens. Just a 1-1 to trade into their 1-1. Okay. In theory, Hero Compulsory Rest is castable for 3 mana, but I have too many green sources and not enough white. I probably don't compulsory any of these little babies. They're all too small. That's just Hero for now. The creatures are all really good sizes to actually ambush, and we'd get a heroic trigger on Hero, or even bigger on Phalanx Leader later. Yeah, if I can get a Phalanx Leader heroic trigger, that might be just game ending. Alright, time to see all the combat tricks. They don't have any incredibly good heroic abilities right now, at least. So it's really just up to the combat trick whether or not this combat's going to go well for them. They don't get like +1/+1 counters off of heroic nonsense. And there's a chance it might be better to just not block with the hero right now, because then I know I can compulsory and ambush if I hit a land. Which is kind of cute. Oh my god, 3rd green source. 4th green source, actually, because Call the Ambush is one of them. Alright. Not under a ton of pressure, so we're still fine. But obviously that's not the land we want to see. And I do get punished for losing the hero, because I could play compulsory and ambush if I had a hero on board. I think I need blockers enough to just run this out. And trade this into a 1/1 token. Probably not. Okay. Alright, trade Steward into a combat trick. Lotus Eye Mystics into a combat trick. 1/1 into a 1/1. They can easily end up just stacking in 1,000,000 damage out of nowhere. think I am. Just trying to keep clearing things out here. Yep, Martial Glory is busted in the heroic decks, getting the double combat trick. Wow, alright. This is why we're on the 10-8. Well, yeah, that's pretty insane. Thank you, opponent. Now I have another removal spell and a really good opportunity to play Lotus Eye Mystics. I think that's something that's probably going to be, after a few weeks in the format, people are going to be preparing for the compulsory rest Lotus Eye Mystics combo. Well, they're out of combat tricks if that's their attack. Perforos's Emissary, you are getting compulsoried. If I can ever hit planes 2. Or that. Alright. I mean, that works. Oh, I should have poked for 1. Obviously, the Crusader for 1/1 Vigilance trade is good there. I should not have poked for 1 any other turn because they always had a 1/1 Soldier up, but this time they only had Crusader, so I should have poked for 1. Just got a little too excited about that top deck. That was pretty funny. Mogus's Warhound. Yeah. Can't guarantee that I top deck the Planessteel Mystics and Compulsory in the same turn, so we just pop the Crusader there and let them have their 2/2. Man. This is rough. I'm gonna play the Ghost Blade here because it is big enough to eat up the 1/1s or trade into the Warhound, which is the same the Mystics can do, but the Mystics can also draw us a removal spell, which is obviously huge. So we need to be able to draw that removal spell off Mystics if we're hoping to stabilize from here. There's the removal, so we take 4, go to 7. Fifth land from our opponent. They're still on all spells in hand. They haven't played a land in a few turns. So it's looking really unlikely we can stabilize at this point. We've just missed the second white source way too long. It's allowed our opponent to soak in a lot of extra damage. It's just nowhere to be seen. Well, this threatens to trade into the 4/3. They're on land 6 now, though, with 2 spells in hand. Pretty much guaranteed to be castable at this point. Bestow that double strike. Down to 2. And it is too little too late. Finally hit the second white, but they can just sack the soldier to get the Eidolon off of the soldier, and then attack with the Eidolon and the 1/1. We trade Eidolons and go to 1 life, and then we die next turn. Or if they have removal in hand that costs 4 or less mana, then we die right now. Alright. Is what it is. Pretty rough mana draws are going to steal the game from us there, and we are 1-1 heading into game 3. Here we are for game 3. This is a slower hand. We don't have anything till turn 3, and we're on the draw. So, actually very slow. Still want to keep it, just from how the last game played out, to where triple white is very, very valuable for us. And we even have that single green mana for any green spells we draw into. If we need to run out the ambush tapped, we can absolutely do that. So I'm going to keep it here. We'll see. Playing against a blue deck. So theoretically, should be fine to play a nice, decently slow game here. Oh yeah, blue-black, we are fine. I lied. Planeswalker bonus sheet has eliminated my soul. That was one of the least beatable Planeswalkers in Limited. +2, Exile 3. Alright, we probably just lose, but there's a chance they like minus here, and then we can like Selesnya Charm 6, double striking power, kill Ashiok. But Ashiok is just, I mean, 7 loyalty, and we're 6 cards down already for the mill plan. Or spit out one of my creatures, and we're already 2 for 1. Yeah, Mentor the Meek. Yeah. And immediately get card draw off of it too. So 3 for 1 off Ashiok. Big yikes. Well, they have to block here, and then we get to kill Ashiok and their blocker thanks to Selesnya Charm. And we'll see how the game goes from here. They're not going to have an Ashiok on board, just eliminating my soul. But they already got incredible value from it, so we're already pretty far behind. Not to mention, since they get to keep this Mentor the Meek around, they can get even further ahead every time they play a power 2 or less creature, which is probably a lot of what's in their deck, being in blue-black. A lot of smaller creatures in the color pair. Yep. Another card draw from our Mentor. Ashiok is so rude. At least I can make sure that Thief does not draw them any cards. Which I think I have to do. It is awkward how this fits into our curve, but make sure they don't draw just infinite cards here. Obviously I would have loved to play a 4-drop creature, but it is what it is. I can't afford that right now. Oh, we have 1 Mentor of the Meek in this deck, and that is what they see out of the first 3 cards they exiled. It's absolutely tragic. And they have the Lifebane Zombie against the green-white deck, dude? You got me. That is definitely GG's at this point. You can't make it up. Ashiok into our Menswar and then get Life Bane zombied when we're playing green-white. It's looking like 1 and 2 and a quick heading into game 4 here. We'll still play it out because we'll probably die pretty quickly from here. So maybe there's a chance. But worst case scenario, we'll be out of here soon. And we can end our suffering. Lifebane Zombie is completely unblockable, so I'm just going to shut that off. If they have any Graveyard Recursion, that's going to be really good for them. There's Dreadhound, sure. Okay, no more of this card draw, please. But now we are dying to a Dreadhound with no way to kill it. The 4-mana Gust of Wind. Take 6, go to 11. Some more mana for us. We'll drop it down here, just hold 1. Second Dreadhound. The double up is pretty strong. They both trigger off of this mill. Yep. I mean, 2 6/6s is already pretty strong when we had to blow our removal already. And it's all mana. 1 and 2 it is. Pretty comically bad matchup for us as we head into game number 4. Here we are for game 4. We're on the play. We don't start till turn 3, but getting a Loxodon Smiter with a Audacity on it could be pretty dang good. I'm going to start with the Plains in case we draw the Phalanx Leader, which we did not. Oh, I should have played Guildgate there at that point, but whatever. We've got all 4 of our untapped lands anyway, so that's pretty unlikely to matter. But literally after playing the correct land turn 1, I decided, you know what, let's play the definitely wrong land turn 2. Let's balance it out. Compulsory on Gatebreaker Ram is going to be super fine. I don't need to do that yet, though. I can already attack right past it. And I'm not worried about them counterattacking 1 time here. Cool. Waracle. So far, the War Oracle has been pretty much exactly as mediocre as I thought. I mean, we've only played it 1 time. Oh, I am going to get punished for that, the Guildgate play. I mean, with the Renown trigger, getting a +1/+1 counter when we hit our opponent, it's possible that we would still just compulsory rest here, even if we had the 5 mana untapped for the Archon. Because I can compulsory plus Audacity. Wow, and that's a lot of damage. They're at 7 already? Yeah, maybe not really punished. This was probably still a line, even if I had untapped mana for Archon. Ooh, Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. That's a cool one for Brawl on Arena. And Pioneer. I mean, basically any black deck in Pioneer is going to run that. Just run 1 copy in your Junda decks or whatever to fix your mana. Their guild gates are triomes now. It's pretty fancy. They don't quite have all 5 colors yet because they have 2 just black sources. So their gates deck has not quite gone the whole distance yet. So that's a 4/4 instead of a whatever, but doesn't matter, they are dead. And we are 2-2, heading into game number 5. All right, here we are for game 5. I am getting concerned that I put the wrong lands in. Nope, it's 9 plains and 6 forests. All right, well, that's a mulligan either way. And again, all right. It is what it is, cannot control that. Do I want white sources, or do I need bad sources? What? Or white sources bad enough to ditch a forest and just hope to draw plains here with 2 4-drops in hand? Variance-wise, I'm definitely supposed to just ditch a Mystics. This is the most consistent hand I can keep. Oh, we got the new Capenna song. We got the grooves in here. When in Capenna, let's gamble. And immediately got another forest anyway. Alright, it was 2 lands on top. We played correct. Strictly correct plays. There was no argument to do anything else. It's definitely not a variance kind of thing. Ooh, Sin Collector sucks against our deck. I mean, it's still a 2/1, but they don't get to exile anything. Well, now they get to know not to sack anything to our compulsory rest, so that's a little annoying. Gotta just wait. I could compulsory this to just poke for 2, but it's really not that worth it. They've even got this man land. They can make a 2/3 lifelinker and immediately nullify any damage I was going to deal anyway. Leaf Crown Dryad. That is not bad. An enchantment we can get in our graveyard. Can actually bestow this and play compulsory in the same turn. Okay, Ambush is not bad with Hero. It's a bunch of mana up for them. Luckily, bestow cards, it doesn't really matter if they removal spell in response. Because I still get my card on the board. Alright. This looks decent. Is it straight up just nothing over there? Nothing. Or what is going on over there? No shot, it's like all lands. I think I have to play just a no-value Lotus Eye Mystics just to have more power on the board at this point. Maybe there's a board wipe in this format. Oh, Linvala? Okay. It's not lethal, but it's a lot. They're at 7. The holy cow from opponent. Time to saddle up. War Oracle. Baleful Eidolon. Ooh, don't sack that main phase. Yeah. They know about the Lotus Eye Mystics, so it'd be unlikely. Okay, they're at 7. I don't have Trample. I think this is lethal. Well, no, because they gain 2, it's not going to be, but it'll be close enough. Yeah, it's not going to be lethal. They get to gain 2. They're going to be at, like, 1 life or something. Well, 2 life. But I still have just as many creatures on board thanks to the Bestow ability, and now my Lotus Eye Mystics picks up my Compulsory, because they had to gain some life there. Yeah, they just got all lands, it looks like. Yeah, rough draws for our opponent. Where's GG? I'm not good at emoting. Gotta scroll through my gigantic list. But they probably kept, based on how that game played out, it was likely 5 lands, Sin Collector, Linvala, and I think that's a pretty reasonable keep. Especially when one of the lands is the Shambling Vents there, they can keep turning into a lifelinker. So yeah, reasonable keep, but then they just flooded, it looks like. All right, that is 3 and 2 now, which is pretty good, because we are definitely trying to get our value out of these drafts right now. Gyms are looking tight. So hopefully we can get at least one more win here. That would be enough gems to hop right back into another draft. I guess technically not. I'm so low on gems, that's... Oh wait, no, that is enough. We got 260. We'd have 1660. Yeah. So one more win and we've got enough to hop into another draft tomorrow. And if not, again, I will have to put some... I'll have to put my credit card into the blender and spit out some gems. So we'll see. We're 3 and 2 right now, heading into game 6. All right, here we are on the plate for game number 6. Any land draw is a great draw with this hand, and we've got both of our colors already, and 2 plays no matter what with double hero. Actually 3 plays because the compulsory as well. But here we go. We have got the land draws we're looking for. Let's full control here for a second, so when I move to combat it gives it a stop. Looks like I might have a combat trick. Maybe they won't block. Okay, they do take the trade. Fair enough. Still a good trade, because if they ever run out of cards in hand, this just sits there drawing them a bunch. So, not the end of the world that they traded. Especially because we actually don't have any heroic triggers in our hand for the hero. Yeah, I was probably overvaluing the hero, doing the fancy pretend I have a combat trick attack. I don't think that's necessary. Here we go again. Oh, that's frustrating. The +2 is just absurd. It's just out of reach.
Do not test me.
Hit Oracle and Mentor. They hit Mentor again. It's the same game. Now they just need 1 removal spell and Ashiok stays on the board to demolish my soul. I mean, if I spent all my attacks at them, this Ashiok would be so high on loyalty, they just spit out a creature here and play a removal spell this turn. Now instead, I attack this, they stay at 20, play a removal spell, save Ashiok. Like, there's neither way we can play it is any good if they just have 1 removal spell in hand. And just blow up Smiter. Oh my god, they don't have one. That is insanely surprising. This is not a good matchup for Hornet Nest right now. We just want an attacker. I mean, I guess I can play both. Yeah, might as well. I'm not compulsorying anything. This is only bad if they have a board wipe, but I don't think there's a ton. Alright, sure, ultimate price the Hornet Nest. That's the only thing that isn't actively attacking them, so I'm pretty fine with it. Again, that's what I was saying. Against like black decks and white decks, it's still a lightning rod for removal, which is still useful sometimes. Like here, getting them to kill our only creature that isn't attacking them is still definitely valuable. Oh no, Graveyard Recursion? Don't you dare cast Ashiok again. Okay, it's Delve. That is so fine. That is so fine. Did they delve away Ashiok? Good. Good. Get them out of here. Put them into exile forever. Never want to see them again. Alright, we're playing off the top. We might be fine. But they've got a lot more cards than us, so they could still stabilize. By fine, we're not under any pressure anymore. They don't have an Ashiok, but again, they can definitely stabilize and turn the game around in their favor. Ooh, especially with Undead Butler. Pick up their best creature engrave here. Phalanx Leader's a solid draw. Um, yeah, I'd rather not. Pop the Butler here and just give them a good flying blocker for the Messenger. And that does have Vigilance. It's going to keep untapping itself. Shipbreaker Kraken's probably pretty bad for me. Tap 4 creatures and they don't untap for as long as you control Shipbreaker Kraken. If you get to 8 mana, it is a one-sided board wipe. I probably should have read that card sooner. I might have been undervaluing that during draft, because that is an incredible monstrous ability. Obviously, like a lot of big cards, it doesn't do anything against one removal spell, but I don't have one removal spell right now. I have a lot of mana. Yeah, again, 8 mana is a lot, but if they get there, like, my whole board is tapped and they just kill me immediately. And even if they didn't have the power to kill me immediately, I would have no crackbacks as long as the Kraken's around. No, I just needed one more win. Ashiok dug right into my pocket, pulled out my credit card, put it in the shredder. 2 of our losses today. Yep, that's lethal. Man. Alright, I don't think this deck was particularly bad. I think it's a pretty solid, very reasonable little Selesnya deck. Those losses were super rough, just some bad variance for us. Running up against 2 Ashiok decks. Ashiok plus Lifebane Zombie, that was a little more absurd. That game, I think we drew a little worse than against the Ashiok Lifebane Zombie deck. Like, we still had a chance there, because we did get to kill the Ashiok pretty early and have a better board state. We just did not hit any follow through. We kept hitting mana there. So I think that game was a little more reasonable. But the first Ashiok loss, when they Ashioked us and Lifebane Zombied us and drew like 3 cards off our own Mentor of the Meek, that one was filthy. And our very first loss overall was not hitting a second white source against a really aggressive Boros Heroic deck. So I just could never double spell with like Mystics plus removal, or I could never cast my leader before I played anything else. Yeah, it was awkward mana there. So all around, I think all 3 of our losses were just some rough variance mostly. Maybe there were some slight misplays here or there that could have changed things a little bit. I'm not sure we could have won any of those games, but I don't think this deck is that bad. I mean, 3-3 is a perfectly average record. That's not a bad record at all. But I was expecting and hoping for a 4-3 or better out of this. I think this is probably like a 4-3 to 6-3 on average, and obviously kind of needed it for gyms here. But I guess I'll have to do some daily quests here. Make sure I've got the 10,000 gold to play another draft. I don't quite have to pull out the credit card yet, but we're getting real close. Real close after the Arena Open sucked up my monies. Yeah, another look at the deck, looking for any under and over performers. I'm not sure there really were any. I think everything played quite solid, quite around where I thought it would be. It was really just some variance affecting how those games went. Some really good draws, or some pretty weak draws, or some just explosive Ashioks from our opponents. But yeah, that is a look at the Pioneer Masters format for our first draft on my personal account. We will be back at it again daily for quite some time. There are going to be some competitive Magic Foundations tournaments over the course of the next few weekends. There's like a qualifier play-in coming up this weekend, and there's a qualifier weekend the weekend after that. So there's still going to be some Magic Foundations in here for any of you paper players that don't care about Pioneer Masters at all, but I think this set looks pretty cool. The fact that they're swapping out the bonus sheet every couple weeks, I think they're going to keep it pretty interesting. So I'll definitely be playing at least a few Pioneer Masters drafts every week as well. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned. But as for now, we're going to grab our 1,000 gems, our 2 packs of Pioneer Masters, and that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.